Today we'll take a look at the Microsoft security updates for August 2021. This is Sensei with your security summary for this month. This month there's actually very few vulnerabilities by Microsoft standards, only 44, so only about 1.5 per day, which is about half as much as we normally see from Microsoft in a given month. We do have 7 critical vulnerabilities. We'll start out with CVE 2021-34535. This is a remote code execution, meaning the attacker can execute code of their choice. Vulnerability in the remote desktop client. This is used to, when you connect to another machine in your enterprise. Because this is in the client, it allows an attacker who perhaps tricks a user into clicking an RDP link. Once somebody RDPs to the system, the attacker then gains access to the system that they're connecting from. Another way that this can be used is actually with Hyper-V and some similar virtualization systems where the host, the Hyper-V host, you might RDP to a guest, a malicious guest or a guest that has been hacked, has some sort of a malware on it, could then take over the host. So certainly this is an issue of concern to any enterprise that uses virtual machines. Any server, maybe a public web, DMZ, the attacker gets that. They have access to the virtualization host, and from there all of your servers. This is a very low complexity attack with a very high impact to confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and it therefore rates an 8.8 out of 10. Although this only officially rates a 6.8 out of 10, no privileges are required. We know that scripting engines, obviously attackers run scripts a lot. There's a lot of what we call script kiddies. So we expect that this will certainly be exploited very, very soon. And it will have a high impact to confidentiality and integrity because the scripts can access data, whether it's in the browser or any other Microsoft Office products, for example, that can run scripts. We do have one vulnerability this month that's actively being exploited in the wild. This is an escalation of privilege. Update medic is something that fixes the update service. If the update service were to get broken, an unprivileged user can remotely or locally, whatever vector they have to run code locally, would get administrative privileges using this, and it is currently being exploited. We don't see it being exploited a whole lot yet, but the exploits are out there. The exploit is fairly easy to do, and so we can certainly expect that this is going to be one of the biggest ones for this month. And that one is CVE 2021-36948. Another potentially high-profile one is a vulnerability in the Windows authentication system. In this particular one, an attacker can trick a computer into authenticating against a fake DC, basically, and including the attacker can trick a domain controller into authenticating against their fake server and therefore get the credentials for the AD. So this would allow then anybody who can run this, run some code to cause this to happen would then potentially get domain takeover. Attack complexity is rated as low. No privileges are required whatsoever. And so this is pretty significant. This is CVE 2021-36942. Another one to take a quick look at is an NFS, remote code execution vulnerability. Again, low attack complexity, doesn't require any privileges on the domain of the system, and allows the bad guy to run code of their choice on the system with no user interaction whatsoever. So this is actually a 9.8 out of 10. This is almost as bad as it gets because it does allow an unauthenticated user to run remote code without any user interaction whatsoever. That's obviously going to be a highly high impact issue. Not quite as high, however, as CVE 2021-26424. This is a bad one. This is a 9.9 out of 10. This is a bug in the Windows TCP/IP stack. So this is going to apply basically to any Windows system regardless of what you may have installed. And it allows remote code execution by low privileged user with no user interaction. They can send packets on your network, then they can run code. In particular, where we're seeing this of most concern, maybe for Microsoft, where we're seeing some exploits, is going back to the virtual servers or virtual machines scenario, where you have a guest who will send a packet to the host and then take over the host in that way. And this seems to be related to IPv6. It potentially could be also ported to IPv4. We haven't seen that yet. And take a note too that it doesn't require IPv6 to be supported by your network. Simple, not your networking gear. It could simply be a VM guest escaping to all on the same physical machine without going through any network. Definitely one to patch. Haven't seen it exploited yet, but the attack complexity is low. Low privileges are required, no user interaction. So certainly we would expect to see this exploited very quickly. Definitely anything where you have a VM needs to be patched right away, and really any system, particularly if you're running IPv6. What you'll hear more about this month is the changes to printing. Last month we had Print Nightmare and the other print spooler vulnerabilities. We do have a fix out, or a mitigation at least, for the Print Nightmare related issues. What Microsoft has done is they've changed the way that the printing works a little bit. Previously, any user could add a printer and it would load a print driver from the remote print server and load it onto the local system and then run that print driver with system privileges. So what that means is it allows any user to remotely retrieve code and run it as system. Which absolutely, of course, that was a big problem. So the change now is unprivileged users, normal users that aren't admin, will no longer be able to install print drivers using that point and print functionality. In order to install a new print driver, the user would have to be admin, is the way Microsoft is saying it. Hopefully we will see some more specific permissions that could be allowed instead of just, administrator, to allow permissions to that particular directory or whatnot. However, really, this is going to be the issue for enterprises this month, for help desks, if users are trying to print and they can't install a printer. What you'll need to do, probably in most enterprises, is install the print drivers for the types of printers that you use, via whatever tool that you use to deploy software broadly. You might put on your master image and then whatever update system that you might use, Automox or whatever. But this is probably going to be the big one for this month. Organization-wide, just support people and all that are going to have to deal with this fact that users can't install print drivers off of random servers anymore, which makes sense, but it's likely to be a little bit annoying. There is a workaround to remove this with a registry entry. I don't think I even want to talk about that because it's just a really, really bad idea. A new print spooler issue here. How related this is to Print Nightmare and so forth, don't know yet. Again, this is a low attack complexity, low privileges required, no user interaction required, and your bad guy can run remote code execution, can execute code on remote systems. So pretty bad, an 8.8, definitely something to patch right away. The big one I do want to remind people of that we do see already exploited is that one in the update medic service, the CV 2021-36948. So definitely make sure, anything that runs Windows Update, we definitely need to get that patched as well as all the other ones. Again, overall, there's only 44 this month. It may be that some of the bad guys, some of the hackers anyway, that normally report this stuff, not bad guys, but good guys who report this stuff, may have been preparing for DEF CON or something, or maybe Microsoft was so busy working on fixing Print Nightmare and so forth, they haven't gotten other fixes out. But either way, fairly light month, 7 criticals. Make sure you patch your stuff. No reports so far in the last several hours of it breaking anything, other than obviously admins can't install